This is another one that I think is. I'll just jump right over to it. This guy is a historian, and it's look up like what is alt history. I think from yeah on he's a historian, and he's been kind of blowing up recently because he's been making some really good points. And I've been listening to quite a bit of his stuff because I love history. And he's 23 years old, but this guy is smart as a whip. And he's talking about how in this podcast he's talking about how a lot of men feel like they don't have any real future financial opportunities. They don't have a lot of viable options. And when you get a bunch of young men with no viable options and not a whole lot to lose, it's a dangerous combination. And he quickly explains here why.
Humans are designed to breed first and be rational later. So what happens when you pull out the incentive structure with a society, because we live in a society where people are working too many hours, they can't afford a house, they can't be successful enough to attract a mate. Thus, their ability to reproduce declines. Once the ability to reproduce gets weaker, it means people start to tear the system apart, because if you're screwed in the current system, you're going to roll the dice to get a different outcome. Because if you're screwed in the current route, you have an incentive to roll the dice with a revolution or a political crisis, even though it means you could die, because that gives you at least some shot. And so what happens as...
Okay, so I think that's just a very succinct way to explain, what's going on in the world today. And I don't know, this is where like common sense to me, I know a lot of people, not I guess it's not even like real personally. I know a couple people, but like you just look online, you look at the news, you look at what can happen, like just over at the UK, like something like sparks, and then all of a sudden you get a bunch of angry people, and people are angry right now. And what happens when someone smart enough can take those people and use them for a goal? Those people would be more than happy to find some purpose, and it doesn't matter what that is. And if those guys can, in accomplishing that purpose, take out some of their anger, like seriously, that's like a super scary proposition. And that it does not seem unrealistic to me. Like, I don't know why this whole idea of like a Civil War 2.0 is so crazy to people. Like, you got a bunch of like young people who, like young men nowadays, who do have access to a lot of firearms, and don't have a lot of potential when it comes to women. There's a lot of loners out there. Why wouldn't they roll the dice? I'd like to think I wouldn't, but I mean, you can just tell in these videos how upset I am, and I have a loving wife, a great life. I just spent the weekend at the beach. I got two amazing kids, and this stuff makes me upset. So I couldn't imagine like living in my mom's basement, feeling like I have no purpose, and then all of a sudden somebody comes along and is like, "Hey, we're gonna build this better system." I'd be like, "Let's go!" So that just scares me, And I think anybody who's got their head in the clouds is like, "Oh, that would never happen." Maybe I'll do like a longer video, or just like another video with like all his best points that I've heard recently, because I mean, I've just been listening to that guy a lot, and he is really, really smart. And yeah, if you don't know him, it's like, what is alt hist? What is alt hist, or something like that? What is alt history? He started his YouTube channel talking about like, what if Hitler had won World War II? What if Hitler had never invaded Russia? What if the South had won the Civil War? Stuff like that. So that's why it's called What If Alt History.